I want to dedicate this podcast this week of Drayzera Uncensored to two people. One, to Joe Oliva, which as of recording, I just finished watching Joe take part in Countdown. He's a good mate of mine. A few years ago, we used to hang out and talked a lot more frequently, but you know, uni life and all that. And yeah, I'm so proud of him. Like, he didn't make it through. He didn't win, but man, it was awesome of him to score 64 points, but still lose. Respect to him. And to my co-host of Dre and Keith's 30 Minutes of Nonsense, my man Keith Sadler, who unfortunately he's been very, very unwell, and unfortunately it's really bringing him down on that. So I'd like to dedicate the podcast to both of them, but of course especially to Keith Sadler, because he's like a brother to me. And even though because of his health, I don't think I've seen him since we saw Star Wars Rogue One, but in any case, you take care of yourself, man. Now play the intro. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chamber of Mayhem! Are you ready to rumble? Moonlight! This is my time now to flash you all uncensored Drayzera. This is my time now to flash you all uncensored Drayzera Uncensored. Drayzera Uncensored. Welcome back to another episode of Drayzera Uncensored, and now I have got an interview with the man behind the plan, Johnny from Pet Needs. What's up, my man?
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm all good in the hood, and joined with me and Johnny is the emotional poet, the one and only Marianne Ambrose. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Awesome stuff, that's great, and I know I am so happy you haven't fallen asleep yet in this very night-timey kind of drive. Awesome, I'm glad you haven't, Johnny, because I don't want you falling at the wheel. Right, okay, so let's talk about Autism, Anglia.
Okay, cool. Well, what do you want to know about it?
Let's start from the beginning. So, did you found Autism, Anglia?
Before that I was working for a project called the Bright Futures Project, which was working with kids who are out of education, and about half of the kids I was working with were autistic, so I got a real interest in autism. And then I saw a job come up as events organiser for an autism charity and kind of discovered it through that. And I've been working for him for about 2 years now, and yeah, really fantastic charity.
That's great, and so with when you say autism fascinates you, can you expand on that?
Yeah, well, I think the world, to be honest, is a very interesting but scary and inconsistent place, and I don't really like the way a lot of the world is run, and I very much like the way the autistic brain thinks. I like the fact that it's very, very consistent. I like the fact that autistic people are very honest, and I enjoy the company of autistic people. I understand that being autistic in this society can have lots of challenges as well, but I really enjoy the company of autistic people and like dedicating a large part of my life to being with them.
I see. So going over you, Marianne, now you've told me that you're diagnosed as autistic, is that correct?
I'm diagnosed as Aspergic, and it was when I was 40. But I have other diagnoses of personality disorder and bipolar.
I see. Okay, and so tell me. So, do you use the services of Autism Anglia and or Johnny helping you with stuff?
Oh, definitely. Autism Anglia were my lifeline actually before I met Johnny, and as such, I feel they're such a lifeline that I actually do a lot of voluntary work for them. I raise a lot of funds through selling my CDs and my books, and and I do a lot of collections with them. yeah, I think they're amazing.
That's awesome. Now, going back to you, Johnny, now when you say you don't like the way the world is run, or how a lot of the world is run, going a bit deep here with this question, can you expand on what you mean by that?
Yeah, completely. Well, actually, I'll give you an example. There's a man, I won't tell his name now for confidentiality reasons, but there's a man that is involved with Autism Anglia as well. He's an autistic man, and he saw the way that all the refugees were being treated, you know, in the Calais camp a year or two ago, and he just couldn't understand, whereas a lot of non-autistic people just accepted that this was the way that the world was, and that they just get on with their day-to-day lives and ignore it. This man could not understand how we were letting this happen, and he ended up buying a van and dedicating his time to fundraising and just bringing beds and sleepwear and loads of different support down to Calais, and just going back and forth, dedicating his life to that. And I just love the way that autistic people are very literal and can kind of like see through how the world is a horrible capitalist environment where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and the fact that we're buying clothes from sweatshops and stuff, and like, but the majority of people in the world think that's all right.
Man, yeah, that's definitely food for thought. And also, it's interesting to know also how people are being mistreated, and you basically saying that, like, because in Drayzera Uncensored we can swear, that basically they just think it's bullshit and everyone should live equally, and unfortunately, would you agree that capitalism doesn't give you that?
I think capitalism is selling you an ideal that if you go for the next thing, then you'll be happy, so you're never actually in a state of actual happiness. So capitalism gives you the ideal where if you get the next promotion, or you get the bigger car or the bigger house, or if you buy the next thing, then you're going to be happy. But all that does is keeps you in a perpetual state of wanting more, really, so you're never actually going to receive that true happiness. I think true happiness comes from existing in a moment and being in a place where you feel that you need nothing at all.
And so going to you, Marianne, he mentioned about being in the moment of where you're happy. Do you feel that with people suffering from autism, do you think that thing's true to people like that? Sorry.
I don't think people suffer from autism as such.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. I didn't mean suffer. I apologise for that. Sorry.
That's all right. In my opinion, I think autism is a neurotype, so it's a brain type.
Yeah.
And I look at there's this thing called the medical model disability and the social model disability. And we're not saying autism is disability, but it's just a model that people use.
I think they can suffer though, because socially, if you're inept or you really can't communicate as much as the other person, you can socially suffer.
That's exactly it, and that's from the social model of disability, which states that it's society itself that can disable the individual. So, for example,
bullying.
Yeah, exactly. Something like bullying, or something like, for example, a job interview. If someone goes for a job interview and are asked the question, what makes you... exactly. Like
can't answer the question because they just don't have the answer.
That's exactly it.
Or they have the answer you're not looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've said what they thought, they've said what they think obviously is more honest than what they're... Basically, for instance, what wage would you like? I'd like £10 an hour. Oh, actually, we're only giving you 6. So, you know, it's like, basically you don't look, you look realistically, you don't really look realistically, do you?
Yeah, so, and I think that, I believe that isn't as a result of an inherently flawed personality. I think that's the result of an alternative personality or an alternative brain type that's existing in a world which is predominantly non-autistic and predominantly designed for non-autistic people. And I really want to work towards a world where not just autistic people, but people of all neurotypes are accepted and celebrated and seen as real integral members of a diverse society.
As an autistic person, I absolutely feel like I'm from another planet, to be honest.
Right.
I feel alien because I don't connect. I mean, I could be in a pub for 8 hours on my computer, on my little tablet, and no one will talk to me. I mean, I know thousands of people. I know thousands of people, and thousands of people know me, but they're not friends. They're associates. I can call Johnny a friend, obviously, but even that's taken me time to actually trust that. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so I just want to say before we carry on, I didn't want to offend anyone by saying the word suffering and autism. I didn't want to come across.
Again, I feel we do suffer low.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny's right in his opinion, but there's different opinions of suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering. There's different ideas of suffering.
Yeah, and I think I mean, obviously this is what it's about. It's an open discussion, and it's interesting that you said that, and I don't think that anyone will be offended by that, because if people don't know, then people will say things, and that's why we need education, really. But I think that autistic people may suffer in society as a result of being autistic, but I think that autism in itself is an inherent personality flaw. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, but I can completely understand why being autistic in this society can be really, really challenging.
I think so. For all those that don't know a bit about my background, I have worked in the care industry for on and off 5 years until I have moved on from it to pursue a performing career. But anywho, because of that, I have met quite a lot of people within the autistic spectrum, and one thing that I've really noticed, and this is what you've both touched on, is that we basically are governed by pre-existing rules that never really considered people who have a level of the autistic spectrum within them. So, and therefore they feel, like Marianne has said, that she feels that she doesn't belong in certain areas of society. And is that
a lot of areas of society, not certain areas. Everywhere I go, it's just like a blank. It's like I don't know. I just don't fit in. I feel isolation and frustration, and that's part of my poem actually. But I quoted that. But a good thing about a lot of people with autism, we're very bright people. That's what we're told anyway. And we have certain things, like we're good at art, we're good at poetry, we're good at counting, we're good at memory. I mean, actually not bloody good, we're fucking fantastic, some of us, but we're much brighter than the average person, but that doesn't get looked at because we can't talk properly, or we can't have a conversation with a person without messing up, so without feeling uncomfortable.
So, just an interesting point about how capitalism could be a massive part as to why autism isn't supported as much as it should, and or how people who have autism don't feel welcome. So saying that, this is a question that I'm going to ask both of you, and you can both have a discussion about this. What needs to be done in order for this to be sorted? Like, how can people who have autism live a better life, or a better utopia?
Well, in my opinion, I think capitalism is a problem for everyone in society.
Yeah.
Really. I think more what would be challenging for an autistic person. Actually, someone once told me like this. It said, having an autistic brain in a society predominantly designed for non-autistic people, it's like having a brain that's a vinyl record in a world full of CDs.
And
so,
MP3 download on it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you try and put that vinyl record into a CD player, it isn't going to work at all. But if you put it into a record player, then suddenly all this potential and all this communication and stuff comes out. So it's a fact about we need more record players, and we need more people to understand that we don't want to treat autistic people like scratch CDs and try and shove them into a CD player.
Basically, we're a different database.
Okay.
And the database is not communicating with the other database.
Right.
That's it. That's completely it. And I think it's we need a greater level of acceptance, of understanding, and I don't think this is just the responsibility of non-autistic people. I think it's the responsibility of autistic people and non-autistic people to learn about each other. That's the thing. I think at the moment we do a lot of work with autistic people in schools and stuff, teaching them about how to function in a non-autistic world, whereas we should do more and more and more work with for example, non-autistic kids about autism and about how to communicate with autistic people, so that we end up growing up in a neurodiverse world as opposed to a world just designed for non-autistic people.
Where in the 70s and 80s, when I was growing up and not diagnosed, I was a scared, frightened, terrified person, little child, but having problems all over the place. I can't discuss where or who with, but no one understood me. I was being bullied at school, I was being bullied loads of places. Again, I can't discuss.
Okay.
But I remember when I was about 5, I went to school and
So was this in the 70s, sorry?
70s, I was at primary school.
Okay.
And I screamed the whole place down, and she had to put me on her lap and reassure me. Then I think she knew something was definitely up, but no, it's like nursery. It's like these children that scream, I think there's something wrong, but not wrong. It's something not being, I don't know, no connection.
Yeah.
There's no connection as to what's going on.
I think we say like.
Sorry, I'm feeling very autistic here.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Lost me.
That's fine, go on.
That's right. I think as well when autistic people have meltdowns sometimes.
Very misunderstood.
Yeah, that can often be misinterpreted
Biting,
as
kicking, headbutting, screaming, crying, quite aggressive as well.
and in kids.
Frustration.
Yeah, you say it can be quite aggressive. It can be seen as like naughty behaviour, whereas we like to think of it like more like distress behaviour. Basically,
right.
You'll find it hard to communicate, and things are getting overwhelming, and there's loads of different sensory issues that we need to touch on as well. Then it can get overwhelming.
But that's not just children, actually. That happens in adults.
No, exactly. Yeah, it does happen in adults.
That definitely happens in me. I still kick things. I still bite. I headbutt. And people don't understand. Actually, it's worse because if you're an adult, you're more likely to get arrested.
Yeah.
So, for being misunderstood.
Right. So Johnny, you said that there's something else that we really need to touch on. What was that word you said?
Also sensory processing.
Yeah,
basically.
do elaborate.
Every human being in the world experiences the world differently. It's all subjective. Autistic people can experience the world very, very differently to non-autistic people. So
Overhearing.
yeah, exactly. Well, actually, overhearing is a really interesting example. If we talk about overhearing, actually, there's these two things. There's one called top-down processing and one called bottom-up processing. And one of the theories says that non-autistic people experience the world like this. They experience top-down processing, which means when they're in a situation, they see the whole picture and then join up the gaps when they need to.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. There was something that just cropped my mind. There was a documentary I saw ages ago where I forgot the name of this gentleman. Like, there was this man, and he basically got shown a bird's eye view of the whole of London from a helicopter, and he literally, using his brain, he just drew the whole of London.
Steve.
Someone, I can't remember. Yeah. You've seen what I mean.
Yeah.
He was 16 when he got noticed.
That's an example, perfect example of bottom-up processing, and that's where you see all of the detail of a situation all at once, but then have to consciously put the pieces together, like consciously every time, to try and make sense of it. So Stephen, what's his name? It's like Stephen Wiltshire, I think it is, or something like that.
Yeah.
He sees it all, and he sees everything all at once, but then would have to consciously, if you had to build this up into a social situation, it's a conscious effort to put all these things together to make sense of it.
It's exactly the same as some people who remember everyone's birth dates and other dates. The Queen's birthday. They don't even know the Queen. They've never met the Queen, but they could probably imagine that she had a mole on her face and remember it. It's about it's a complex memory system. It's like, hello, when's your birthday? Oh, I know when it is. What year were you born? It's just really manic.
Like a high level of idyllic memory.
Oh, completely. And it's really interesting what Marianne said about overhearing things as well. Like, because
they say you didn't hear it, and I know I did.
Exactly. If you haven't got that filter to hone in on something, because the opposite is in non-autistic people, there's this thing called the cocktail party effect, where it says if you're at a party and you're there and you're kind of like chatting away to someone, there's 100 other people at the party, The smell is another one as well.
The smell, touch, all the senses basically. Hearing. I mean, basically, if you're wearing a perfume and I hate it, oh man, I have to get out of that room because it just over intimidates my nostrils. So, and my ears as well. If there's screaming of children, basically can't go near a playground when I'm feeling very high sensitive, but sometimes I'm in a pub and there's children screaming. I've had to ask them if they could stop their children from screaming, and they don't like it. They look at me as if I'm rude, and I just have to explain that I'm autistic.
Yeah.
Shopping as well. 7 o'clock at night, there's children screaming, and I'm like, this isn't a bloody fucking playground. I get really agitated. I get really agitated, and it actually does start a meltdown. And plus, I'm clapping and all that. And it doesn't mean I'm happy, it means I'm agitated. I'm clapping, I'm swearing, I'm shouting.
What does it feel like in the build-up to a meltdown?
Uncomfortable, you know. It's sometimes you don't even know. No.
Do you feel kind of clammy, like?
Clammy as in hot? No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I feel threatened sometimes, and I feel like if there was a big, massive table in the middle of the shopping precinct, then I'd go underneath it.
I see. So talking about autism, so we're going way back to Autism Anglia. Since when you began with Autism Anglia a few years ago, how do you feel working as the director? What is your position?
I'm an events organiser.
The events organiser of Autism Anglia. Do you feel...
Not the director yet.
No, not yet. The empire will come. So with Autism Anglia, what work do you feel you have done, and how do you what differences do you feel you've made in the couple of years you've been affiliated with getting the word out about autism and finding more support mechanisms?
Yeah, wow, that's a huge question.
We only ask big questions in Drayzera Uncensored. You go on.
Well, I think probably some of my roles to do with fundraising. And we try and raise as much money.
Together, don't we?
Through different balls and doing charity backpacks and stuff. However, I think the biggest thing I do is spreading autism acceptance and doing different training and putting on different conferences and getting great minds all in one place to really talk about autism and really learn about it and really see how as a society we can improve society for autistic people. And I think my place in the charity is as someone who can initiate conversations and someone who can put all these fantastic people all in one place.
And for me the enthusiasm is massive. I mean, if you say to me, "Oh, we've got all day," I will do the whole thing for the whole day. I won't go away. It's like my mind is set on something. It will go through it. I will get ill if it's not accepted. Like he says, right, there's a boundary, Marianne. We finish we start at 9 and we finish at 5. Oh, do we have to? Yeah, we have to. And so when it comes to 5 o'clock, we finish. Otherwise, if they didn't give me that boundary, I'd be there till about 7 o'clock at night.
Doing different collections.
Yeah, I like Pacific times. I don't like
Interesting. You know, I was just thinking, just while you're talking, in terms of autism across the world, in terms of not only this country, like we could talk about Britain in general with autism, but how do you feel other countries around the world are dealing with autism and dealing with more of I wouldn't say safe place, but more of a kind of a better world for autism?
That's interesting. There's two very, very different ways of thinking about autism between America and Britain.
Okay, so you're saying that America has a different perspective on autism? Yeah,
it's changing, but at the moment, autism is still it's called the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistic Manual, they basically see autism as like a disease that can be cured, and they do there's this charity called Autism Speaks I'm speaking personally here, not on behalf of the charity, but as my personal opinion, a terrible charity, and
don't donate.
I mean, they still want to help people, but people in America still want to help people, but I think they're coming from it from a very different angle and this is like more kind of like professionals. In America, there's some really, really good pressure groups that are formed by autistic adults, and there's still lots of really, really good stuff going on. Over in Europe, again, there's some weird thinkings about autism.
I was going to say, in Europe and all that, or personally, my opinion, I don't think it's even recognised. They're thinking, what is autism? You know, it's
what specific countries are you talking about, Marianne?
I can't really be specific, but there are definitely some countries out there that, like, you know, people have come up to me and they said, I don't understand what autism is. And that's not because they're English, it's not because they're foreign either, but some people just don't get it.
Lack of education.
Yeah.
And the term autism only came about in, I think it's 1943 and 1944, kind of around then. So it's not very old as a diagnosis, really, or as a group of people. So it's still, as a term, like a lot of different cultures.
Countries, definitely.
A lot of different cultures don't know about it as much, which must be quite hard for someone who is autistic but's undiagnosed and doesn't even know what autism is.
Well, I know in my parents' homeland of Bangladesh, I think, I'm not 100% sure, like I'm just using my memory, I know that I've got some relatives that suffer from learning difficulties. I'm not necessarily sure if it is autistic related or whatever, right? But point is that I know that in countries like Bangladesh and other countries that are lesser developed and all that, like, I mean, the way I see it is, if most of the country can't even feed anyone, or like are so poor, then how in the world are they going to invest in autism? Because the thing is, with something that is so broad like autism, and you say 1943, a lot of people have been born before that still who are living in this country today and across the world. Point is that we need a lot more finances and a lot more support to even get to that potential next step, right? And therefore, unfortunately, based on what you've told me and based on general logic, and you could both agree that we are still a light years behind.
And I think education is so important as well. You can throw as much money as possible at something, but if people aren't educated on it.
Johnny, what did you think of Rayman?
I have not seen it since I've learned about autism, to be honest.
Rayman?
Rain Man.
Rain Man, okay.
Do you think it was good for autism or bad for autism?
I think, again, as someone who hasn't seen it for a very long time, when I did see it, I found it interesting, but I think a lot of other people probably saw it and thought, right, well, that's what autism is, so that's what all autistic people are, they're all like that.
I loved the film, but I would say,
It's kind of like, sorry to interrupt, it's kind of like a much more smaller example, and please, I am not taking the piss, but when people within the BDSM community were absolutely pissed off with 50 Shades of Grey's film adaptation and the book itself, because, you know, like it's not, you know, it's just bad.
That's exactly it. And I think Rain Man, I think what's brilliant about it, what's great about the film, is it brought autism to the forefront and it started a discussion about it. But I think we need to remember that this is one example of one autistic person, and there's a whole range. It's like say there's a film with a non-autistic person, and say like Mission Impossible or something, it's got a non-autistic lead actor. We wouldn't presume that it's Tom Cruise, wasn't it, in Mission Impossible? We wouldn't presume that every single non-autistic person's like Tom Cruise.
It was Tom Cruise in Rayman as well. Yeah. Was
it? Oh, cool. So we wouldn't presume, or we shouldn't presume, that every single autistic person in the world's like Dustin Hoffman's character.
No, I don't. But I think it brought, as you said, attention to the diagnostic.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. So I think to be honest, unless it's like taking the mickey out of it or anything with autism in it in the media.
Like Mad Max, not Mad Max, Max.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like anything with autism in it that's going to start that discussion. Even just people going, oh well, I've seen there's something called the A Word on the BBC, which is a drama, and they might, like, if someone goes, oh well, I saw Rain Man and I thought autism was that, but now I've just seen the A Word and this kid's completely different to the Rain Man character. So, and that's just challenging preconceptions, and then it starts a conversation. That's what it's all about.
I think, like myself, really, I mean, everyone thinks you can't be autistic, you're really intelligent, And I was like, I don't know whether to be offended or not with that really, because like I've questioned myself for many years whether I was or not, see. So it took forever and ever trying to get a diagnosis, and then people like challenge me all the time, and it's like then I question myself in my head, you know. But and they said you've got a learning disability. Well, actually, I don't look upon it as a learning disability because sometimes it might be for some other people, but for myself, my learning disability is I'm dyslexic a little bit, but other than that, I don't think I'm learning this.
I mean, the way I see it is, I have met dyslexic poets, I have met autistic poets, and if they're doing absolutely fine, if they're doing amazingly well, then I feel that the more knowledge you have on who you are, be it if you're autistic, not autistic, whatever, then it can only empower you, am I right?
Oh yeah, completely. I think self-reflection is key, really. I think you should always try and learn.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah, we
self-awareness.
Yeah, we both
do a lot of study with yourself.
That's exactly it.
Especially if you've been abused and all that, you're going to hopefully get all that help.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you're screwed basically. But me, I've done so much therapy. Do you know what I mean? To get where I am today. I mean, if I hadn't done that therapy, I would be, well, screw loose. I am a screw loose, but I mean, I'd be worse.
I see.
And it's so important to talk about. I mean, I want to work towards a world, not just in autism, but I want to work towards a world where people can talk so openly about mental health in the same way they talk about physical health. I think there's still a stigma around it.
More openly about topics like feminism and all that stuff, where this is not the place to talk about feminism. This is a whole different debate all in its time. But yeah, I'm always one of those people.
See, that's the other thing.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's my fault. I would have suggested, for me, autism is a mental health problem more for me than it is. That's just me though. That's how it affects me, because it affects how I communicate with people.
Yeah.
It affects how they communicate with me. It gets me into a lot of people wanting to smash my face in. You know, I'm so vulnerable when I'm, around people.
So then think about it this way, right? When you're at Autism Anglia and you're with people that understand you.
Mostly.
Yeah, well, mostly, yeah.
Not connecting. Not connecting any members.
Yeah, but pretend you're with, think of your three most trusted people.
Anna, Julie, and Marissa.
Exactly.
And
Shout out to those people.
So if you're in a room with the four of us and we're just hanging out,
that's fine.
then you're not.
Even Clive,
Yeah, and then
big up Clive.
in that situation, you're not mentally disabled. Do you know what
I'm being accepted, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the social model of disability. That's saying that it's society that's disabling the individual.
But you say I'm not disabled or anything, but I feel disabled because I'm always watching what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm talking too much. Am I this? Have I upset you?
Yeah.
So it's still there for me, but for you guys, you don't see that.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. You still got that pressure to communicate socially.
Yeah. Or am I talking too much? Again, am I talking too much? Have I upset you? Am I swearing too much? Oh, sorry, I am swearing too much. Or I'm being totally rude.
There have been times, haven't you, where you haven't upset us, but you think that you have upset us about things.
I think that's mental health as well as autism.
And I think also to interject, I mean, in general, whether you're autistic or not, we all have different levels of which we can get offended by or upset by anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, perfect example, without going into too much detail, when I posted that opinion topic about feminism, I had people that are up in arms, I had people that were happy talking about it, I had people, so many different emotions, and I feel that, to an extent, autism and mental health and autism in general is still, to an extent, a taboo subject, because I feel that and therefore it's amazing, great work such as Autism Anglia and amazing charities that support autism, apart from that American one,
I mean, for me it's really horrible when I'm in a shopping centre or something, because I go I'm clapping, I'm singing, I'm screaming, and if someone's screaming in my ear, children screaming, I'm just not understood. I get looked at, people and I go, and I actually scream, what are you looking at? Leave me alone! And it's luckily sometimes I've got carers with me, but sometimes I haven't.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm on the verge of getting a smack in the face.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know.
So I'm steaming up a bit. Sorry, I just had to wind down the window there.
It's okay. It's okay. Now, yeah. I mean, now we all know that you're steaming up your window on the podcast. So.
Not steaming up.
Oh goodness. So heated debate. Oh my God. Right. Okay. Now, while we're now atop this amazing traffic jam, final words on Autism Anglia. Tell everybody on where to find Autism Anglia, where to contact, and how can they donate to the cause.
Yeah, cool. Well, follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/autismanglia.
Simple as chips.
That's probably the best way to do it, because then you keep up with everything that we do. Also, if you want to go on the website, it's autism then a hyphen anglia.org.uk, and there you can donate and keep up with everything we're doing there as well.
You might want to explain about my book, Johnny.
Yeah, you explain it.
No, I'm not very good.
Okay, cool. So, also, we're going to talk about Marianne. The reason we're driving now is the three of us are all poets as well. Well, I'm kind of like part-time poet.
Part-time.
Well, I haven't done it for about 3 years. Yeah.
You say part-time. I've only been doing it for a year.
Yeah, but I know I haven't done it for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be my first.
Don't get personal.
Time that I ever. Yeah.
He's welling up.
Oh, right. Well, I haven't done it for. I've been married for 3 years, so.
Oh,
No,
it's all Lorna's fault.
No, what was I going to say? Yeah,
I donate 50p to from £3.50 for my CDs that I sell, because I've got a CD out and I've got a book online out called The Emotional Poet, basically.
I see.
And 50p to everything I sell goes to Autism Anglia.
Oh, awesome.
And sometimes if I'm doing something for Autism Anglia, like a special day or something, then I give them £1 to that. And I've raised probably about, I don't know, 60, 70, maybe £80, maybe more actually.
Yeah. You know, so okay, you know.
I'm always raising money.
That's great, Marianne. Now I'll tell you this, Marianne. Yeah. Now usually every week we do this something called Poetry in Bed. Poem of the week. Poetry in bed is just what I call the title of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not actually literal because we're not in bed, are we? But
not.
well, man, it'd be the fast 45-mile-per-hour bed ever. But I'll say this, right, Marianne?
Bed. I used to sleep in the back of it. So I put an inflatable mattress in the back. I ripped out the chairs. So it has been a bed.
It's not in motion though, is it? It's not. That would have been a bumpy ride. But yeah, Marianne, it's completely up to you. But if you want, you could be the first ever person to do a Poetry in Bed poem of the week read by yourself. Usually I read out the poem by somebody else. Do you want to read out a poem?
Oh.
Yeah, and take it away, and that'll be that.
Can you pause it for a minute?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, go for it. Actually, while Marianne's going along, I can talk to Johnny a bit about pet needs. Let's talk a bit about pet needs, actually. So, with linked to autism and with your band Pet Needs, does any of your lyricism talk about autism? Just around.
I think my lyrics are kind of written. I could imagine an autistic person writing some of my lyrics.
Okay.
To be honest.
They're based on the influences you may have gotten by.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe from like there's one of the lyrics to our songs says you're waiting for your train in the rain again with these strangers who still remain strangers despite the same faces gracing this station platform most mornings of almost every day. And it's kind
that's
of
poetry right there, baby.
Yeah, well, kind of.
That's poetry, baby.
But it's kind of that not understanding the social world in a way, which is what I kind of feel a lot of the time as well. I'm not saying that I am autistic, but I think a lot of the lyrics debatable. But I think a lot of the lyrics that I write kind of probably influenced by a lot of the conversations I've had with autistic people. But then again, I think a lot of the lyrics that I've written ever since I've been writing music or poetry kind of, you could say, from an autistic perspective, which is really interesting because I've never ever thought of that. Interesting. Like I had in my solo stuff, I had a song called "We Are Not What We Own."
Yes, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like,
I'm a long-time fan, by the way.
And the lyrics used to be, the chorus was, "We're not what we own. Life is love and memories, not technology and clothes." And that's something that I could imagine an autistic person saying, that kind of like way of looking at the world going, why are people obsessed with this? People are idiots kind of thing, really.
I'm obsessed with autism.
Yeah, so am I think.
So Marianne, are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright Marianne, take it away.
Autism. What is autism? A spectrum of confusion. Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of isolation? Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of alienation? Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of intelligence? Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of hidden and trapped emotions? Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of complexity? Deep. What is autism? A spectrum of beautiful individuals? Deep. That's what autism is. Yes, deep.
Woo! Woo! Big up Marianne!
I'm driving.
Oh god. Oh no! Right. Okay, yeah, tap that steering wheel. Right, okay, Marianne, you can have the last word. Tell us where to find you on social media and check out and to find out how to buy your book and all that. Or one of you two could talk, tell me.
So, if you go on YouTube and search for Mary Ann Ambrose, the emotional poet, Mary Ann's video comes up there, and then if you look in underneath the video, we've got links to all social media and stuff on there.
Thanks, Johnny. He's not my manager, but he's like a little manager for me.
He's like sometimes your admin, your receptionist.
PA.
He's my buddy.
Buddy. Right. Well, thank you very much, you two, for this amazing interview. I think this is probably I think this actually this is actually the joint longest interview I have had.
Really?
Probably, joint longest at least. The longest interview I've had was around this kind of timeline with my friend who travels to Japan a lot and works in Japan.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot about Japanese culture, but this just around matches it, so shows you got a lot of good content. So thank you very much, people. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Big Johnny and Marianne Ambrose. That was an awesome interview. Now, because of the fact that the hashtag Poetry in Bed Poem of the Week was already done by Marianne Ambrose, I feel that I think I could talk about another topic, and I guess that's it. Well, I can talk about two little things. Firstly, next week on Drayzera Uncensored, baby! We have got a very intriguing interview. Now, I will have the Suffolk Feminist Society representative of it. I think it'll be Jem Thompson that will be talking to me face to face, and we're going to discuss feminism and the roles of feminism, what Suffolk Feminist Society do, etc., etc. I think it's definitely going to be an unmissable interview. I'm really looking forward to it. And finally, I just want to give one more shout out to Keith Sadler. If you're listening, man, take care of yourself. You're going to get better soon, man. I really hope that you'll be better by the time it's my birthday, man. And anyone wants to know my birthday? It's the 23rd of March, baby! So, Moonlight Army! Thank you very much for another episode of Drayzera Uncensored. And once again, check out Johnny's links on Autism Anglia. Check out Marianne Ambrose's poetry. Yeah, I guess that's it. So, my name is Drayzera! And I shall zera later. Uncensored!